So, Janine, thank you so much for agreeing to do this for me. I appreciate it so much. I am excited. I'm actually also a little bit nervous about what you're going to ask me. So be gentle, but I'll
You,
pass over. I'll hand over the reins. So, yes, welcome,
thank you.
Janine.
Welcome to your podcast. Oh, it could be This Is Your Life, couldn't it? If I'd have got organised, I could have presented you with a big red book, and the young people listening to this will not understand what I'm talking about.
200th episode, let's do that.
200th episode! Well done. Like, isn't the statistic that only a small percentage of podcasters make it to even beyond 7 episodes?
Yeah, 100 feels like an achievement. And I completely flew by the 1 year mark. I
Yeah,
was thinking, oh, I should have done something to mark the fact that we've been going for a year and I missed that one. So I thought, right, 100 episodes, that's when I will take a moment to just pause and
yeah.
celebrate. So, yeah.
Is it fair to say that consistency is a superpower for you?
I don't know if I would have put it like that, but it is when I've decided I'm going to do something and I've made a commitment to doing it and I'm clear about what that thing is and why I'm doing it, then
Mm.
yeah, probably is actually. I mean, I've been emailing my list every week consistently for years now.
Mm.
Doing this every week consistently hasn't felt too difficult. So yeah, probably.
Which leads me to a discussion point
Mm.
because we're both a bit of a fan of the odd personality profiling tool. Not all of them, but some of
Mm.
them are extremely, extremely useful. And I think when we first spoke properly online, we bonded over Gretchen Rubin's Four Tendencies, didn't we?
We did. Yeah. Yeah, that's one that I have found most helpful when it comes to helping my clients. I feel like I don't know that it told me anything I didn't already know about me because I am in the group that is the most popular or not popular. There are more obligers. I'm an obliger, and there's more of us than there are anyone else. I should probably just explain what the four tendencies are, shouldn't I,
Yeah,
before we
who
get too
appraised you?
idiosyncratic?
I'm going to test you now. Go on.
So it's basically Gretchen Rubin's framework for how people deal with internal and external expectations. So the internal expectations being the things we want to do for ourselves and nobody else is going to know about it, and external things being things we can do for other people or where other people will know. So showing up for clients and all that kind of stuff. Um, and she's created these four different tendencies based on all of that. I am an obliger, which basically means I'm very good at doing things when other people are expecting something of me, but if it's an internal expectation, I need accountability. But what I found most useful about the four tendencies is helping me understand other people who are not that way.
Mm.
Because you and I are not the same, are we, as far as
No,
that's concerned?
no, no. I'm a sort of a questioner rebel. So I'm sort of, yeah, I swing from so rebels don't want to do it makes me sound really bad. But rebels, if they decide to do something and they commit to it, it makes them less want to do it.
Yeah.
And if other people ask them to do it, they sort of naturally want to shun it. And questioners in her matrix supposedly kind of want to prioritize what they want to do over what other people have asked them to do. But in reality, how it plays out is they question everything. So it's really super fun
Hmm.
being a questioner rebel. And upholders, they do things that they want to do themselves and what other people expect of them. And it's funny because I kind of think of you more as an upholder, you know. I know you've always said that you're an obliger, but like that, I decided to do it. I knew the reasons. I did it. I've been emailing my list regularly for years. I've been, sailed past the year mark without even thinking about it for podcasting.
Yeah, I think there is accountability in that though, because in my mind, those people are expecting that of me. So I am accountable to my audience as far as that's concerned, even though I know none of them are going to tell me off. Nobody's paying me to do those things, the weekly emails and stuff. But there are always things, I could put something in my diary and quite easily ignore it if nobody else knows about it. I'm not the sort of person who just decides they're going to do something and does it regardless. I'm struggling to
Mm.
think of an example of that now, but there are definitely times when I have tried the whole put it all in your diary and get it done, which is very much an upholder way of doing things, and it
Mm.
hasn't worked for me. Um, I'm struggling to think of an example, but yeah, I'm definitely more of an obliger. If nobody else is expecting it from me and I haven't got that accountability, it is much harder for me.
Yeah. Well, maybe it's just testament to the fact that you're very self-aware and you've found ways to manage it.
And I probably don't talk about it when I don't do things, do I? Because none of us want to share that side of ourselves. Maybe I should.
I seem to talk about when I don't do things a hell of a lot, but maybe it's just to you. I'm like, I haven't done that thing again, and I've moved that, and the deadline's moved. Yeah. Oh dear. There's another profiling whatnot that we've both done before we worked together and knew each other,
Hmm.
which is wealth dynamics, which I don't think is the best name. I'm just going to put that out there. It
No.
sounds a bit, I don't know. It puts me off, but at the same time, it's quite useful. And there's 8 profiles, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't, we're not going to go into every single one because we're here all day and it's not what we do.
Mm.
But it was interesting the way we first, well, we probably met on LinkedIn, didn't we?
The first time I met you was in Brighton at an event in Brighton. We
Of
were
course
at
it was.
Helen
I always
Packham's
forget
event
that.
together. Yeah,
Yes. It was an excellent event. She should have kept doing it just for us to go
she
along.
should.
Um, yeah, so we met there,
Yeah.
and then you wanted help with your messaging and your positioning
Yeah.
of your services.
Yeah.
So you came to me, and then as the weeks were going on, I was like, she is taking the mickey here because she's describing me on purpose. I felt like you were, I felt like you were describing me on purpose, and I was like, she's going to say something soon because this is obviously me, and you hadn't clocked it.
No, I
You
mean, I
don't know what's in my brain.
hadn't. No. And I suppose, I mean, I think over time we have become a lot more honest with each other. But I think at the beginning of any kind of working relationship, we always try and make ourselves out to be much more together than we are. And I think that's one great thing I love about what I do is that I get to see behind that and to what's really going on for people. So yeah, I didn't realize that you were struggling with the things that I was talking about until I suppose over time you did keep going, right, this sounds like me. Let me just think, what would I say in those situations? So you were massive help to me as my ideal client in helping me with my messaging because you could just speak from your own experience, which
To steal my woes and my
yeah,
moans. Yeah.
yeah.
So the long and the short of it was, you were a client of mine, but very soon I was a client of yours, and then we were mutual clients, and then we've edged closer to some kind of collaboration, but we haven't launched anything yet.
Hmm.
But never say never.
Never say never. Yeah. And I think going back to the wealth dynamics thing, the reason that I came to you was because I realized I knew that what I did was brilliant and the people who experienced it loved it. But my personality, my skill set, all of that stuff was making it really hard for me to help other people understand all of that.
Mm,
So I needed someone very different from me to help me figure that out, which is you. You know, I was stalking you on LinkedIn for a couple of years before I reached out, watching your fabulous creativity on display, and I thought that's what I need. And I'd
mm,
done what we all do, invested in other people, and it wasn't exactly what I needed. But I got real clarity around I need someone who can help me with my messaging and articulating all of this stuff,
yeah.
which was really helpful for me. And in Wealth Dynamics, there's these 8 profiles that kind of sit around a square, and there's 4 different energy types. And for me in my profile, my highest energy types are steel and tempo, which means I'm very good at detail, I'm very good at timing. If I say I'm going to do something, it will get done, and you can rely on me to help get it done. The the other energy types are blaze and dynamo. I have got almost zero of both of those things. And the blaze dynamo is putting yourself out there going pada and kind of schmoozing and being visible and all of that stuff. And the dynamo is similar to that. It's about ideas. I'm going to hope I haven't got all this wrong. I haven't got my notes in front of me. Oz, if you're
Oh, it's
listening,
sounding good.
forgive me. But but it's all the kind of ideas and the creativity and all of that stuff. And both of those things are quite low for me. So trying to think of new ways of expressing something and sharing something with the world, it was just impossible. So you were a massive help for me as far as that was concerned. And I think what you discovered is that you needed the support with the steel and tempo over on my side of that wealth dynamics square. And I think your book, which is over my shoulder just there if you're watching this on YouTube, you kindly put a little message in the cover of the book for me saying something like thank you for being the other half of my brain. And I feel very much that way about you. And I think wealth dynamics helped us see that,
Yeah,
articulate that for us.
yeah. Sounds like I'm going really deep now. Maybe I am. But knowing you has allowed me to get to know myself more.
Mm. Look at that. And the same, I think. I mean, we are just yeah, we work really well together and we do help each other a lot and we have all of these little love-ins every now and then. We're like, I appreciate you so much.
Yeah.
And we all need that. And I think sometimes we feel like we should be able to do all of it ourselves. And that if we can't, that means we're failing somehow. And we can't do it all on our own. We all need people around us, whether that's just cheerleaders or people actually filling the gaps that we have in our own skill set and knowledge.
Mm. Yes. And segueing into what you actually do.
Mm,
Um, One of the things that reassured me about working with you and being a client of yours is this whole message that you keep feeding out regularly about you are not broken. If you find it hard to get stuff done, you're not broken.
mm,
It just means that you haven't found a way that works for you and you're trying to follow all these other hacks and tips and advice. And they work for some people, but just because they don't work for you doesn't mean that you're wrong. They are wrong for you. And that was just such a relief. And it was so funny because then I saw those examples everywhere.
mm,
And as you know, I work with a coach who was such an evangelist for time blocking. And as a rebel-y person, I felt like I was in a straitjacket.
mm.
And I had all these diary entries in my diary. My whole diary was booked out for them for months. And I couldn't, I felt paralyzed. I couldn't actually work until I deleted it all and I could breathe again.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think and these people that share that stuff, they're really well-meaning. No one is going out there on purpose trying to make people feel rubbish about themselves. But I think it's a risk, for a lot of people. We find what works for us. It's the same with food and exercise and all of that kind of stuff, isn't it? You find what works for you and you do want to go around sharing it with everyone. Say, I found the secret. And it's amazing. And if you just do this too, but it just isn't what isn't right for everybody. And a lot of the people who work well with time blocking and all that kind of stuff are upholders, going back to Gretchen Rubin's four tendencies. And the upholders are the smallest group out of the four from her research. And yet they're the people that we think we need to be listening to because they can do it. So if we do what they're doing, but it just doesn't work like that. So yeah, for me, it's much more about helping people figure out or identify what's worked for them in the past, what feels good, what doesn't feel good, and over time iterating how they do things until they find a groove that works for them.
Mm.
Until maybe it stops working for them and they need to change things up a bit. And again, that's not a failing, that's just us evolving. So yeah, it's very much that.
So a lot of your clients are similar to me. We're like idea people and very pingy and
Mm.
too many ideas and notes everywhere on all of that jazz, which you're not like that, but somehow you have come up with a set of ways of working and holding space for people, um, and your methodologies that help people like me. So how did that happen? Because if you're not like me, how did you? Because the common route is what we've just talked about. This worked for me, and it really, I've done brilliantly because it works for me, and I'm going to teach you the same way. Whereas you seem to have built this way of working that is better for me. So how does that work?
Well, that is such an interesting question, and I'm going to think the answer through out loud. So who knows what's going to happen? Strap yourself in. So, first of all, I think that having worked as a VA for as long as I did, with as many people as I did, I think, God, I wouldn't even want to try and guess how many clients, at least 20, um, gave me that insight into how lots of different people do things and how we're not all the same. And what works for one person isn't going to work for the other. And it was a very big privilege to see behind the scenes in people's businesses. So I think that gave me insight that I wouldn't have had otherwise. And I also think that it very quickly became apparent to me that it's not the system that people need. It's not about teaching them how to get organized, how to manage their time, how to plan. that's kind of secondary for me. I think what I realized was happening is that people were not giving themselves space. So that is, I would say, the biggest part of what I do is giving people that space. And when they've got the space to think, they do start to notice about, what's working for them and what isn't. It does become easier to prioritize, to think about, okay, how much is it helpful for me to put in my calendar, and how much, if I put too much in, is that going to start to feel constricted, like you were saying? So I've never been the sort of productivity person who is about, I'm going to teach you all how to use Asana, or look at this new app that's just been released. And there are people like that. There are people who are very like down with the tech and all of the newfangled things that are coming out and how you can use AI to help you and all of that. For me, that's not actually the solution to the problem. The solution to the problem is slow the down, step back for a minute, think about what you're trying to do, and now what do you need to do to get there, and how are you going to make that happen? And it's that thinking space that people are not giving themselves. It's not about the tips and the tricks. I don't know whether that's answered your question, but that's what's kind of come into my head.
Yeah, no, let's go with it. No, I know what you mean. So it's the classic strategy before tactics, isn't it?
Mm.
The Asana and the tools are fabulous once you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And you can't Asana yourself into knowing what you're doing. You need the space. And I do meditation, just 10 minutes a day on the Calm app. Um, but that's all about quietening. So your methods are quite meditative. It's like, let's quiet it all down and let's have some space. And I'm going to talk you through this way. And you allow people to find their own answers. It's
Yeah. And I
almost
think
coaching without coaching, isn't it?
yeah, it is. And I think I've had enough creative ideas, people who were very busy bouncing around all over the place, come back to me after a session and say, oh my God, I came feeling so stressed out. And now I feel really calm and clear and I know what I'm doing. And I think over time, getting that feedback, I mean, Make It Happen Club will be 5 years old this year. So there's been a lot of people sharing that feedback with me that's made me go, yeah, I am on the right track. This is helping people. Getting people to the point where they realize that and come and sit in the room and experience it is very different, because I think we're used to, particularly with kind of the speed at which people want to be moving these days, looking for a quick fix and looking for the solution and looking for the free download and all of that stuff.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, it's not that. It's the sitting quietly. And if you're an extrovert and you're out bouncing around, giving all of your energy to other people all the time, you're not giving yourself the space to think and go, what do I want? What do I need? How am I going to make that happen? Um, so yeah, it's pretty special, even if I do say so myself.
It is, and it's interesting you saying, people just want we're so used to like just productivity and quick and quick in the quickest way possible. And dare I say that ChatGPT and AI is not helping in some ways because then it becomes, I'll just ask ChatGPT.
Yeah.
What's the next direction? They're using it for coaching. People are using AI for therapy.
Yeah. That scares me a little bit. I had a client talking to me about that recently. She'd been using Chat GPT to help her with something that she was getting stuck on. And she was like, oh, it was really helpful. And she read back to me what Chat GPT has said to her. And it contradicted itself about 3 times in what she'd read to me. And
Oh,
she so wanted to believe it and for it to be helpful, she'd missed it. And all that ChatGPT is doing is scouring all of the stuff on the internet and serving you up things that it thinks is going to help. It doesn't know about your innermost workings and what has worked for you in the past and what hasn't, or any of that stuff.
the nuance isn't there and the humanity isn't there. And
Yeah.
it's better, I suppose, to compare. ChatGPT could give you a quick answer, which may not be the right answer,
Mm.
but you're helping people kind of sink into their knowing and find a way to listen to their own intuition. I mean, that's what we need to always to reconnect with and to stay connected to, isn't it? Your inner intuition.
Yeah. Yeah, it's trusting yourself, isn't it? I think,
Mm.
rather than expecting somebody else to know better and for somebody else to have the answer. And I mean, I fall into that trap as well. I come to you all the time asking you stuff, and you're like, what do you think? And yes, I do know the answer. I just want someone else to tell it to me. So, yeah, if we can all just trust ourselves a little bit more. And, I get it. It feels when you get that answer from GPT and you think, oh, yeah, that sounds good. It does feel good because you think you've solved a problem. And maybe you have for about 5 minutes.
Mm.
But is that really going to stick and be sustainable in the long term? I don't know.
I suppose it depends on the. There are
Yeah.
things that it's useful for, and there's things
Yeah.
that we should be using our intuition for and our gut and things.
Yeah. Not to mention the environmental impact of
Mm.
it, which worries me as well. But that's a whole other conversation.
That's a big other conversation, which I
Yeah.
am admittedly not knowledgeable enough for. I'll have to put that out there. Um, so, talking about how wonderful you are and how wonderful Make It Happen Club is, and your wonderful one-to-one program in it together, like people are obviously just gonna get one sniff of you and sign up, aren't they? Well, as we found out, the issue with what you do, it's weird and magical, so that people don't get it, do they? Not immediately.
No, absolutely. And that's where you've been a big help. When I started working with you initially, I thought I was doing something wrong. And after I'd spoken to you for a while, you said, I am not surprised you're finding this difficult. It is difficult because it's not something that people know. It's not like I can say I'm a graphic designer or I'm a bookkeeper and these things people understand. So, yeah, it has been and continues to be a challenge. I think the word is getting out there, that
Mm,
it works. I can feel the momentum building.
mm,
And I'm forever trying to find ways of giving people an experience of what it feels like. And I'm hoping that the podcast has been doing that for people, just giving people a sense of, well, helping them get to know me a little bit better and giving them those little minutes of quiet and calm where the pace just changes a little bit and noticing what that does for them and their nervous system. But yeah, it's an interesting old thing trying to it feels really countercultural what I'm doing
yeah,
and swimming against the tide a little bit, and that can sometimes be a little bit exhausting. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, like we touched on earlier, it's like coaching without coaching. Now, how do you sell that? How do you explain to people that that is worth your time and money and your investment? It's a very it's an esoteric concept at the moment.
It
Um,
is. And I think the other thing I come up against a lot is that people feel like they shouldn't need it. So I'm just going to give you an example, and I'm going to name a name because I know she's talked about this openly as well, so she won't mind. But Teresa Heath Waring is one of my one-to-one clients. And I, the reason I was able to work with her was because I jumped on a call with her to do some research for her. She was looking for research people to do some market research. I said, I'll do that. So I went and had a chat with her. And then as she was hearing about what I do and I was explaining it to her, it was like a light bulb went on and she went, I think that might be what I need. And she had been looking for a coach,
mm,
and the coaches she'd been looking for and in some cases working with weren't giving her what she needed because it wasn't hands-on enough and it wasn't practical enough because most coaches, it's not their job and they don't want to get into the nitty-gritty and get into the weeds around, well, what exactly are you going to do and when are you going to do it? And that's essentially what I do when I'm working with people one-to-one. So
mm,
it was only from having that conversation where she was like, oh, I think maybe I want that. I think that maybe is what I need. And then we had more conversations and then we ended up working together and have been working together for, I don't know, why am I looking at the time? Time doesn't help me know the answer to that question. About a year and a half we've been working together now. And it's a partnership made in heaven. And she has managed to get some amazing things done with me, kind of helping her stay focused and prioritize with all the stuff she's juggling.
mm.
But yeah, it's that kind of how helping people understand what it is that's
Yeah.
tricky.
Yeah, because coaching is fabulous. You know, I'm a huge fan of coaching. I've had loads of coaches, and I've got a coach at the moment who I
Yeah.
get so much out of. But pure coaching, is extracting the answers from people, and consultancy is telling people what to do. And sometimes you don't need either of those things.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know
And
the answers. You know what you should be doing. It's just these us ideas people. We get sort of wrapped up and confused and uh, overwhelmed.
yeah, trying to unpick it all. I remember having a conversation with someone a good few years ago now she'd got a coach as well, and she was coming off calls with her coach, really fired up and excited about all of the things they said they were going to do. And then she'd come to me going, when and how am I going to get all of this done based
Yeah.
on everything else I'm doing? So from the conversations I was having with her, we were able to notice where she was overcommitting herself. In her situation, she was networking constantly, just meeting people, going online, in-person networking, because that was what was comfortable for her. She was a natural connector and a people person. But because she was doing all of that, she wasn't giving herself space to even create the offer she wanted to sell these people. So,
Right.
and I could see that that wasn't the kind of conversation she was having with the coach. So
Mm.
both things can work together
Yeah.
nicely. But yeah, it's a very different beast, I
Different
think.
kettle of fish.
Mm.
So let's bring it back to the podcast.
Mm.
200 episodes. Are you enjoying
100 episodes.
100? Why do I keep saying
Because
200?
I said we'll
Oh,
do the This Is Your Life for 200 episodes right at the beginning, and that's what's
oh,
for
I got confused. You've only done
free. I
100.
know, rubbish.
So, 100 episodes. Are you still enjoying it? Do
Yeah,
you enjoying it?
I do. And
You do.
yeah, I think this is something else that has been a key part of my kind of evolution in my business. And I'm glad and grateful that I started this way. I started out my business journey going deep into who I am without wanting to get too existential. Like what works for me and what doesn't, what feels good and what doesn't. And as soon as I started the podcast, I knew I needed to do it in a way that suited me and my personality. And the fact that I did that from the start, I think, is what has allowed it to stay feeling easeful and
Mm,
doable. I'm not naturally the sort of person who would want to be having guests on every week and interviewing people. I would find that stressful.
mm.
Um, I also don't think I could talk for half an hour. I'm much more.
Say that, but we're doing
That's
pretty
just,
well.
that's true. If it was just me talking, I wouldn't be able to do it for half an hour. But
No.
I found a way of doing it that works for me. And, I plan my episodes. I know what I'm going to say before I press record. I'm not a winging it kind of a person. So knowing all of that about myself allows me to factor that in when I'm planning it and in how I'm recording it and putting it out there. So yeah, I am enjoying it. Sometimes I think I'm running out of ideas and then I realize I'm not.
Mm,
Um, I like, we're just coming off the back of me pressing pause a little bit over the summer. So I've decided that for about a month over summer, I'm just going to republish some old episodes so I can give myself a break. I think that helps so I don't, start to get resentful of the relentlessness of it. I still enjoy doing it. So yeah, long answer to your question.
So I'm quite envious of your self-knowledge. Like I feel like I am more knowledgeable about myself than ever,
Mm.
naturally. But it feels like you are so aware of your personality, your likes, your dislikes, what you're strong at, what you would prefer to avoid. And it just feels like you give yourself pause when you need to pause and you manage your energy. Like how have you become so self-aware? Like when did that happen and how and why? And
So, I mean, it didn't start to happen until probably about 10 years ago. So I'm 45 now, and I think I was mid 30s when I started to kind of think about that stuff because things were feeling a bit off. Um, Back when it was in my job and I was suffering from work-related stress and anxiety and all of that, I discovered introversion. That was a big aha light bulb moment. I was like, oh, this whole must speak up more thing is nonsense. Actually, I'm fine as I am. There's nothing wrong with me. So that was my first hint of that you're not broken thing. And that actually introversion can be a superpower. But when I was signed off work with stress and anxiety, that's when I then discovered the slow living movement, which was all about slowing down and being intentional. And I think that that is what gave me the space to think more deeply and differently about what I wanted from life and what I didn't want from life. And I can remember really clearly walking through a really nice, affluent part of the county that we live in and looking at the houses and the cars and going, I don't want that. I don't, and you think you're supposed to be getting a bigger house every however many years and upgrading your car every however often. And I just thought, I don't want that because I don't want what goes with it in terms of the stress and having to maintain that kind of lifestyle. So there was kind of those bigger questions around what do I want from life. But to be honest, I think when it came to starting the business, it was just my way in. I came into it via two amazing people called Selena Barker and Marianne Cantwell. Marianne's got a brilliant book called Be a Free Range Human. I'm in the second edition, so if you go get that, look out for me. And Selena Barker has she's all about designing a life that you love. And you can't design a life you love if you don't know what makes you tick and what you love and don't love. But it had all started from there. So, I consider myself really lucky that that was the case because it meant that everything I've been doing right from the word go has been kind of grounded in that knowledge and awareness that I don't have to do it like everyone else.
Mm,
Um, but also, saying that, I think you can limit yourself. Having this self-knowledge of what you like and don't like is very easy to then limit yourself. So
mm,
I've also been challenged in that over the years. I remember in 2019, my coach at the time invited me to speak at her networking event. And my response was, "Have you met me?" It's like, there's absolutely no way I would ever dream of doing that. And if she hadn't had that faith in me, I would have just said no. I would never have put myself forward. And I did it and I loved it. And if I hadn't have done that and stepped outside of that, well, that's not for me mindset, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you right now. So
mm.
whilst self-awareness, I think, is really good, we need to be careful not to allow it to limit what we're doing. I mean, what would you say your experience of all of that has been?
Oof, that's a biggie, isn't it?
Yeah.
Um, I think that's a question that I've wondered about myself as well, is how do you know whether you're saying no to something because you know it's gonna waste energy and it's the wrong thing to do and you're trusting your gut, and or are you saying no to it because it's too far outside your comfort zone, or it is outside your comfort zone?
Mm,
Like, what's that difference? And it's one of my favorite things to ask. As you know, I work with coaches a lot. It's one of my favorite things to ask coaches, and the answer is usually, "Oh, you'll feel it in your gut." And I'm like, "Can you? Can you?" And maybe I'm just not tuned in enough.
yeah, I think that's where having a really strong grasp on what you want your life to look like can be helpful. So for me, like the speaking thing, if I want to have the business that I want with the clients that I want, people need to know who I am.
Mm.
So I'm going to have to make myself uncomfortable. And it's stretching the comfort zone, isn't it? Until that becomes your new normal and your new comfortable. But you're right. I think the tuning in to know the difference between this is absolutely not the right thing for me and the kind of rumbly feeling you get when something's nerve-wracking, but also a bit exciting. It's very nuanced, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I actually think that sometimes you only know by trying it.
Mm.
As long as you're not committing yourself to doing the same thing for the next 5 years, why not dip your toe in the water and see what happens?
That's true. Not many things are irreversible, if you know what I mean. As you know, I spoke at Atomicon a few years ago,
Mm,
and one of my fellow speakers is an introvert, and she did an amazing job. She was brilliant, really good feedback from everyone, and we spoke about it after, and she was like, "I am never doing that again.
mm,
Never doing that again." Even though she did a really good job, she seemed calm, she came across fine, the feedback was amazing. I have no doubt it helped her business, but she knew never again. Whereas I loved it.
yeah. Yeah.
Couldn't get me off once I was on the stage.
Yeah.
So yeah, I suppose that is the gut. Maybe you might not know before you try it, and then if you try it and you know, yes, deep in my bones, this is not where I'm meant to be, and I hate it.
Exactly. And I think that's a lot of people keep themselves stuck because they're waiting for that clarity and they're waiting to know and to have that certainty and they don't want to move until they know. But the clarity, the confidence, and the certainty comes from taking action, doesn't it? Not sitting around waiting for divine intervention, you know? Mm.
If we have a listener, well, let's hope we've got more than one
Let's
listener.
hope we've got a listener. Yeah.
To the millions of people listening to this episode, what is the one thing that you would like to say to them? There's
Well,
a
thank you. Is that really cheesy? Thank you for listening. I really love knowing that there are people finding what I'm sharing helpful, and I get responses from people all the time telling me that they find this a little pocket of calm. So thank you for listening is my initial thought. But I think I want to go back to what we said right at the very beginning. If you struggle with any of this stuff, it's not your fault. There's nothing wrong with you. You just haven't figured it out yet. And the only way you're going to figure it out is to try stuff and experiment. Try and build that self-awareness so that you can put your blinkers on a little bit around, blocking out the noise of what is and isn't right for you. And if you can give yourself that quiet and calm and make that part of the rhythm in your business and your life, in my experience, and I think in yours as well, things start to feel easier. Doesn't mean they're ever completely easy, but we find more ease in that, I think.
Yeah. Well, Louise Miller, it has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for coming and speaking on your own podcast.
Thank you, Janine, for having me on my own podcast. No, thank you for doing this. I really appreciate you being willing to come and chat with me today. Thank
Always.
you.